Hello everybody! A lot of you were big fans of the video that we put out last year reviewing our 5 favourite new card games. Good card games, I discovered, are everywhere. You just have to look for them. Well, today we're doing it again for the year 2021, and I won't be doing it alone. Not yet. But who's my co-host gonna be? It's the website's own Tom Brewster.
Thanks, Quinns.
You're welcome.
Well, what are we going to review first?
Well, I thought that since last year I didn't really succeed at reviewing The Crew. I gave that job to somebody else. So this year I thought we could make up for it by reviewing The Crew Mission Deep Sea. Maybe the year's best card game?
I've already reviewed it.
What?
If you've not
I
had
can't believe you've done this.
If you've not
Today as well, like the first time we worked together.
Yeah.
I'll just go.
Yeah, okay. If you've not had a flutter with either The Crew 1 or The Crew 2, Mission Deep Sea, you absolutely should, because both of these games are masterpieces. And even though we've already covered them extensively, we still feel a deep debt in getting a review in for these masterpieces of trick-taking. I said masterpiece twice.
You were wrong. We worked together on the Cthulhu thing.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can check out my review of The Crew Mission Deep Sea and the original Crew right now if you want to learn about the intricacies of these spicy little boxes, but if you want a quick summary, stick with me for just one moment. The Crew is a lovely little limited communication co-op where you're getting the right cards to the right people in a sequence of gradually more and more tricksy scenarios, bending the rules of typical trick-taking games you might already know to worm your way through a 50-mission campaign. The original Crew was and still is one of the best deals in games, and Mission Deep Sea is a remixed, weirder version with a bunch of strange tricks up its sleeves.
How did you do that?
A remixed mission structure in The Crew 2 has things getting weird fast, like a shut up and sit down simile on roller skates, replacing the standard deck of tasks with a souped up version packed to the gills with replayability and challenge, even if it's a little harder for beginners to get to grips with. Could these be the card games of the year for 2 years running? Quite possibly, unless we find something even better. How's it going back there, Quinns?
I can't find any card games anywhere. There should be here somewhere.
You should be able to, because great card games are everywhere. You just have to look
Don't, because because I'm the one who, last year it was, okay, I'm gonna look outside.
In Oriflamme, players take the role of competing houses who are vying for control of the throne in a speedy game of backstab and bluff that will remind people of the classic card-based game Coup. Card-based game is a weird
game.
You'll start the game by being dealt a hand of cards that represent the members of your loving, brooding family. Players then take it in turns to place cards into the line, a sort of deadly conveyor belt in the middle of the table. And when you choose to place, you can go to the left, to the right, but never in between. Once everyone has placed their chosen dude into the center of the table, you're going to resolve the line from left to right, with every player getting a choice when their card is called. Either pop it now for a juicy bonus, or wait a little bit later, stashing a coin on it for when it does get revealed later on. These points are how you win the game, so it's always going to be tempting to pop those on, but it's also going to be tempting to reveal the card and activate the aforementioned bonus, because these bonuses are pretty cool, and they mostly involve a bit of murdering. The archer, for example, thwacks one end of the line, whereas the soldier will club the card right next to him, and each time this happens, you get one of those juicy points. Murder pays in the land of Oriflamme, and it'll deny your opponent any points that were lurking on that card, unless, of course, they've laid a trap. An ambush will get you 4 whole points if it's sprung, whereas a conspiracy will double any points if you flip the card. What about using a shapeshifter to copy abilities, or an heir that'll get points so long as they're the only one standing? But the rule that really has people sit up in their chairs is knowing that these rolls are going to activate every single round when they're called when you go through the line, meaning this soldier is going to bing, bap or boop the cards next to it every single turn until he's dealt with. Oriflamme doesn't have the cutthroat calculating majesty of other similar hidden information games, but what it does have is heaps of misfortune. It's so possible to get repeatedly dunked on in this game in a way that is incredibly satisfying for the dunker and really funny for everyone else around the table except for you. And also, this game can vary widely from group to group. I did a group where pictures and hang back and put points on face down cards, laying There's also a sequel, Oriflamme Ablaze. This, much like The Crew 2, is a remixed, iterative version of the original, weirder and less accessible to beginners in a way that allows for big plays, but maybe less immediate strategy and simple joy. I still really like Oriflamme Ablaze. I just think I might prefer the original.
What are you reviewing?
Oriflamme. Quinn's, great card games really are everywhere.
Oh, forget I asked. Listen, I found the next game. My turn now. I've got WizKids Fantasy Realms.
Fantasy Realms! I have played that one too, and I can review it with you.
Son of a...
Fantasy Realms is an excellent little card game about making your very own fantasy realm. And whoever has the best fantasy realm at the end of each 20-minute games is going to be the winner.
But Tom, aren't fantasy realms ultimately subjective and also a reflection of society's unconscious desires, which are of course going to change based on age, gender, race, socioeconomic background, culture, rendering the question of what quote-unquote we quote-unquote want from a fantasy realm as ever shifting as light playing across smoke?
No. For example, a horse is only cool if it has a wizard on it.
Oh, that is true actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, it's true. Fantasy Realms starts by dealing each player 7 cards, and on your turn you draw a card and discard a card. And players can either draw blindly from the deck and drop a card into a sort of yard sale of fantasy tropes in the middle of the table, or stall the game by picking up a card from the middle and dropping a different card in the middle, because the game ends when there are 10 unwanted cards in the yard sale.
So, let's imagine you were holding that horse with a wizard from before. You might also have an Beastmaster, who's going to get extra points from the... It says horse. You might also have an Beastmaster, who's going to get extra points from the horse. But a Wildfire that's going to render your horse card blank because, as I'm learning from this educational game, horses and fire are not friends. So you're going to have to get rid of one of them, but which one? After all, you're never going to win Fantasy Realms with a handful of cards that are busy blanking one another like surly teens at a party. Do teens still blank one another at their parties?
Quinns, I'm 23 years old.
What?
Anyway, this is the game. Players are furtively trying to scramble a hand that's going to give them a perfect combo whilst also not giving up cards to their opponent who are going to snaffle them up like a honey-coated $100 bill. I think this game is great.
I think this game is great. There's so much variety in this deck that every game I play sees me trying to get to grips with some weird new arrangement, like trying to assemble a bouquet of flowers if 90% of those flowers actively ate one another. I also like the silly regret of deciding, no, you don't want any elves, and then you pick up a card, and then the very next turn you go, no, actually, I do want some elves, and all of your friends laugh. But you have the last laugh, because you saw them pick up some rainstorms, and you're holding the lightning that you know they need, and you're never going to let go of that lightning. You're going to sit on that lightning like a bout of explosive gas at a dinner party.
This game is great, and it's kind of like popcorn. It's light, filling, and eminently edible, and especially when these weird cards will combo together in a way that just creates a perfect little story in your head. Of course I need this big war dirigible to lift my 11 archers out of a flood. And of course my Beastmaster needs the sword and shield of Keith in order to be fighting fit. I love this game just because you can ask the person next to you, what's your fantasy realm? And they'll be able to tell you the picture that they've been painting in their head.
Yes, and I love how dismal some of those realms can be. Just like a man in a tower looking out across a world that is basically totally on fire. And I'll tell you what else, Tom. In the back of the manual, there's a more involved and exciting mode if you're playing with just 2 players. There's also a real-time trading game that you can play on your feet. That's going to be a ton of fun. There's also a really good free app from WizKids that handles the supremely fussy scoring. And there's an expansion, Cursed Horde, that adds all kinds of richness that I think is an easy buy for anyone who really likes the original game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can agree that the only real bad thing about the game is the art, right?
The supremely male-gazy, boobular art, yeah, that is really not great, and I would be embarrassed to put it in front of my female friends. Oh no.
Is that your female friends?
Tom, we've been visited by Royal Visit. Tell you what, Tom, you go find some new card games. I'll handle this. Royal Visit is a rather interesting 2-player card game from the legendary Dr. Rainer Knizia. It's good value for money, that boy. In this game, both players are trying to get the world's most indecisive king to visit their house. And we described this on the Shut Up and Sit Down podcast as a tug of war, but one where you've got 5 tuggable ropes that are all knotted together. Because the king can only move between his guards, and having the wizard or jester on your side makes you better at moving everybody else. Now, Yellow has obviously done a breathtaking job with this new edition. If we just place the game next to a standard reference pair, we'll see that by contrast, the pair just looks awful. That said, part of me will always mourn the now defunct 2006 version of this game, which was about trying to get a drunk to visit your bar using an accordion and ladies. Oh no! Oh, no, wait, aha! This edition isn't problematic at all. In fact, the guards are now 2 cool women. I like to see that.
You do like to see cool women.
I do like to see. Look, hey, you've met my wife. So how do you play? Okay, on your turn, you're going to take as many cards as you like of one character and play them, and then use the movement points on the cards to move a character that many spaces, and then you draw up exactly as many cards as you played. However, playing the card that you have the most of, utilizing brute efficiency, is not always going to be the best move. That's because there's some wrinkles, like on your turn, instead of playing cards, you can teleport any character all the way to wherever the wizard is, except for the jester. The jester's cards you can actually play as wild, moving any character you like. Also, at the end of your turn, for every character in your house, you're going to grab this crown token and move it 1 space towards your house, which is another way you can win the game. You can get the king of your house or the crown. This is an alternate victory condition. That's the best kind of victory condition. How all of these rules work in practice is hell. Not my words, dear viewer. The words of my friend who played this game with me for about 20 minutes, then looked me in the eye and declared, "This is hell." And that's because on your turn, you're going to move a piece and drag it a couple spaces, and you're going to feel clever. And then your friend is going to move a piece backwards, and you're going to feel worse. Then you're going to move a piece, and you're going to feel clever. Then your friend's going to move a piece, and you're going to feel worse. And the game goes on like this, with you smiling, frowning, and it can feel, on the surface, like a Sisyphean slugfest with players just dragging these wooden irritants back and forth. But if you stick around for a second 20-minute game, and maybe a third 20-minute game, you might well see the beautiful strategy lying beneath these beautiful components. You'll both start fighting tooth and nail over the wizard as, within your metagame, you start to realize how important he is. And then silently, after another game, by easing up on your card play, you'll non-verbally begin to question with your opponent if he's really that important. There's simply nothing in my collection that's quite like Royal Visit, and that makes it an easy choice to add it to my collection, as well as a rewarding game to just think about. I'm going to play this card, I think, and move this person here. I think that's the best move, but I'm just not sure. Let's you and I sit down and keep playing games until we have a handle on what this game is. And for that reason, I think Royal Visit is a great game for people who just like card games in the abstract, as well as a great game for people who just like attractive objects. And not for nothing, yes, with this game you are paying for this unrollable mat and these big wooden pieces, but this is a game where you have to move these wooden pieces on this mat 1,000,000 times, and so it is now a pleasure for you to drag your knuckles across this silken situation. I wasn't doing anything. Why? I mean, it's my house. I'm allowed to. Why? Also, walking in, if you don't, what have you got there?
Quince, it's true what they say. great card games really are everywhere. And he helped me.
Ah, is that the guy from your crew review? He's not coming in. No. Hey, just hang on. Give me the come in, and then if you just. That was so weird.
Sounded it. Quinns, we've only got one spot left in this top 5, and I just don't know what to choose. Is it going to be Codex Naturalis?
Oh, Codex Naturalis. Best game ever about putting a leaf next to a mushroom next to a frog. But underneath all the shiny cards, I think it's closer to a 7 out of 10 than an 8 out of 10. What about, Stickum?
Ah, well, Stickum's a very tense, very mean trick-taking game, and it did give us the funniest turn we've had of a game, like, all year, when we were all collectively
so mean to Ava, yes.
Yeah.
I do like Stickum, I might keep it, but as trick-taking games go, I'm not sure Stickum is as good as Anansi. Anansi has a few things going for it. For starters, you score points by telling exciting stories to frowning men.
That does have to count for something. I'm just not sure if Anansi is as fun as Coyote or Spicy, which are both part of Heidelberg's line of weirdly metallic games.
I know.
Spicy is a very funny bluffing game, which is like an evolved version of Cheat, but with lovely presentation, where big cats eat spicy things and have a bad time.
But that's my problem. Spicy really is just an evolved version of Cheat, and I can play Cheat at home with a regular 52 card deck of cards. I actually had more fun playing Coyote, but Coyote is just a slightly evolved version of Liar's Dice, and Liar's Dice is one of my favourite games of all time. But you can just play Liar's Dice at home with some cups and some dice, and I think Liar's Dice is better than Coyote.
You know what? Forget Stickum.
Okay.
Forget Anansi.
Okay.
Shaman's is the best competitive trick-taking game of this whole bunch. Shaman's is such a juicy combination of mechanics. It's trick-taking with a hidden traitor, where not following suit has a game-end clock ticking gradually downwards. But winning the suits lets you activate powers that'll give you huge plays. Stab someone who you think is a traitor, swap roles with someone at the last second, or get one of the 8 points you need to win the game.
So is this our 5th favourite new card game of 2021?
No! I want to love Shaman so much, and those gorgeous artwork and the lovely plays are just dangling in front of me like big juicy berries. This game is gorgeous to look at and it's fun to play, but it's just not exceptional.
I feel similarly about Claim. I want to like Claim 1 and 2 more than I think I honestly do. A cute little mix and match 2-player trick-taking game that you could just pop in your pocket and take on a date or a boat. And then you're on a boat with Claim or Claim 2.
And it's not top 5 material though, is it?
But Tom, that's all of the games. If it's not Claim, then what is it?
Hey, it's not all of the games.
That's not a real game. You can't just make something up.
Or can I? Regicide is a challenging card game.
This is just a deck of cards. You can't do this.
It may look that way, my feathered friend, and whilst Regicide is just a game you can play with a standard 52 card deck, the official Kickstarted edition has excellent artwork from New Zealand-based illustrator Sketch Goblin. But my copy has an outstanding array of illustrations drawn by the elusive Crotch Goblin. We got the 7 of Guys, 2 boys hanging out, the 3 of Snakes, and the Duke of Twos.
Thomas, this is some truly arousing art. You've convinced me. Tell the people at home about Regicide.
Well, Regicide is a game that you play with a standard 52 card deck that has you and your friends beating up a series of grumpy Reggies. A series of grumpy Reggies that you are gonna side. To win the game, you just have to get through all of the face cards by playing cards from your hand to deal damage. Woomph! I just dealt 7 damage to this Jack. Quinn's just dealt a further 3 damage, and we're absolutely bossing it. We've taken down half of this poor soul's health already. However, after every turn, the monarch you're currently facing is gonna hit back, doing their damage to you, meaning you need to discard that much damage in cards from your hand. The Jack does 10 damage, so I just need to get rid of 10 damage worth of cards, and oh, we've already We've already lost.
When Regicide says it's a challenging game, it's not palling around. This game is tough as nuts, especially because players aren't allowed to communicate what's in their hand during the game.
Didn't we sort of not like that rule in episode 152 of the Shut Up and Sit Down podcast?
Well, that's only relevant if they listen to the podcast. Did you listen to the podcast? I mean, it's fine if you didn't. It's just that we're mostly known for our videos, but we put a lot of effort into the podcast as well. Lots of coverage of games that are, you know.
It's a pretty good place to be, yeah, generally.
Anyway, we've not explained all of the rules in this excellent cooperative gladiatorial numbers fest, because every time you attack a monarch with a card, that card has a special superpower that triggers a number of times equal to the number on the card. So, if I play a 2 of hearts, I don't just do 2 damage, I also take 2 cards from the discard. They go into the draw pile. If I play a 7 of diamonds, it means me and all of my cooperative friends get to draw 7 cards total. If I play a 4 of clubs, that damage is doubled into 8 damage. And if I play a 6 of spades, spades are very important, that is permanently reducing that monarch's strength by 6 until the next bigger, badder monarch comes around. But there's more. Regicide has one very deadly twist, like a numerical rattlesnake, hungry to sting you on the bum.
Don't think that's how rattlesnakes work. But the twist is pretty deadly. Every monarch in Regicide is going to have a special suit, obviously, and they're immune to that suit's power. So this King of Spades can never have his damage reduced by the spade cards, meaning you're going to take a full 20 damage from him 10, every single turn.
21, ow!
Ooh. There's a couple of other fun considerations in here, like animal companions and goblin gokas, but ultimately, Regicide is one of those games that unfolds like a classic arcade dungeon crawler. Each journey into its deck a learning experience where new things become painfully apparent each time. Regicide is just great. It's tense and engrossing and beautiful if you get that lovely edition with all the nice art from Sketch Goblin. And you can just make your own if you can't get hold of that copy, or if you buy it for someone for a gift, you can just make your own. And I've seen people embellish their copies with loads of lovely little touches, like dice to track health and their own kind of custom reference sheets.
It's so cool seeing someone make a game that's sort of technically open source. And I'm just so delighted to see someone do something new with the 52 card deck. I mean, we were just saying before this take that it's kind of ridiculous we are covering a normal 52 card deck when we have all of these stunning, amazing, and interesting card games, but I mean, I'm partially covering this because I think we want to celebrate something that uses a 52 card deck.
Yeah.
But also, Regicide is just that good.
It's just that good.
It's a supremely good co-op game and well worthy of a position in our top 5 favourite new card games.
Quinns, this has been
We can't both sit on the table. It doesn't look.
Quinns, I've enjoyed today so much. I wish our time wasn't at an end.
What if I told you, Tom, that it didn't have to be? What if we did our top 5 favourite new cards in 2021?
What?
Number 5! Anansi has a card which is just some wasps coming out of a jar, or going into a jar. I mean, there's also a number, but it's higher than the other wasp cards, and so implies that jars are good. Or that wasps are better in jars. Number 4!
This is really stupid.
What?
I mean, like, it's fine if you want to keep going and you know, finish off the video and stuff and do your list. I don't know, my heart's just not in the bit. It's been a long day. I think I'm going to head out, if that's okay.
I mean, yeah.
Great.
If you...
See you, man. Have a
Yeah. Number 4. Oh, it's not the same. That Tom is a real piece of work. Fortunately, I can play board games without him on Board Game Arena. This video is sponsored by Board Game Arena. Wait, don't switch off, because you know that if Shut Up and Sit Down is sponsored by something, you know it's going to be for a service we think is good, that we actually use, and also we're probably going to figure out a way to include at least one joke in this segment. BoardGameArena.com is a website that lets you play board games with friends or strangers in real time, or across weeks, or even in tournaments, so you can find out just how bad you are at, I don't know, Terra Mystica. And best of all, board games only appear on Board Game Arena with permission from the publishers, so you are consuming games ethically and supporting the creators. And did I mention that Board Game Arena is free, with optional premium membership? Obviously, Board Game Arena has been a lifesaver for our team during the pandemic, but truthfully, even now that we're starting our regular board game nights again, we're still continuing to use this site because it's just so convenient and it does all the rules for you. BoardGameArena.com. That's the website where it lives. Give it a try. Or don't. It's fine, really. No pressure. We just think it's pretty good. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I will be back next week with an exciting double review for you.